My name is Julia Foster, 28 years old, living in a city that never sleeps, but somehow always feels suffocating when your personal life is unraveling. I love my boyfriend, Charles Jones, more than I probably should, but loving someone doesn't mean ignoring red flags, something I was about to learn the hard way. It all started innocently enough, or at least it seemed that way. I was scrolling through my phone during lunch when a message from Charles lit up my screen. "Stop being cheap. My friends' girlfriends get them expensive watches. Where's mine?" I blinked. My salad suddenly seemed irrelevant. He wasn't subtle, not even a little. He expected a luxury watch, like it was owed to him, because his friends' girlfriends bought theirs. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I could feel the tension crawling up my spine. And then, almost automatically, I typed, "Good point." I hit send and stared at the screen, wondering if I had just made a huge mistake, or maybe I hadn't. Charles, oblivious to my internal panic, replied almost immediately, naming the exact model he wanted, a gold and silver chronograph that cost more than my rent. I set my phone down and exhaled. Charles had a way of saying things that sounded innocent but carried the weight of expectation. He never outright demanded, but the pressure was there, like a storm cloud hanging in the corner of the room. I loved him, but entitlement was creeping in, and I wasn't sure if love alone could weather it. Then I remembered Ethan, my younger brother, 26, hardworking, brilliant, finally promoted to senior analyst and living on his own for the first time. He'd been my rock more than once, lending me money when my car died in college, staying up late to listen when I felt like my life was falling apart. His birthday was coming up in 2 weeks, and I had been planning something small, a nice dinner, maybe a $500 gift. But deep down, I knew he deserved more. I couldn't ignore it. My fingers trembled slightly as I navigated to a reputable watch reseller online. Pre-owned, but in pristine condition, authentic, guaranteed. The watch Ethan had been eyeing for months. $11,200. A chunk of my savings, yes, but seeing his face light up, worth every penny. I clicked purchase and leaned back, trying to calm my racing heart. The shipping would take 5 to 7 business days. Meanwhile, Charles continued texting, oblivious. Every day. "When are we going to look at the watch?" I dodged. "I'm handling it through a connection. Be patient." The patience was mine, not his. For days, I balanced the two worlds. My excitement for Ethan's gift and the gnawing dread of Charles, discovering I hadn't bought his watch. My family was blissfully unaware, and I almost envied them. Almost. Finally, the package arrived. I hid it in my office, heart pounding like a drum in my chest. Lunch break, alone in the room, I lifted the box, traced my fingers over the smooth leather, and imagined Ethan's reaction. He'd hug me so hard I'd probably forget to breathe. I felt a twinge of guilt, not for him, but for Charles, who had every expectation of entitlement. And then there was the lingering question. How would he react when he found out it wasn't for him? I tucked the box away, forcing a calm I didn't feel. My apartment smelled faintly of jasmine from the candle I'd lit earlier, but the air felt heavy, thick with anticipation. I rehearsed what I'd say in my head. I did this for someone who deserved it. Clear, simple, true. But I could already hear Charles in my imagination, furious. "You gave it to someone else? How could you?" I shook my head. No, I wouldn't let him manipulate me. Not this time. The next few days were a blur of small distractions. Work emails, running errands, keeping up appearances while the storm brewed just beyond the horizon. Every phone buzz made my stomach twist. Charles's texts grew more frequent, more insistent, though he still didn't know the truth. And then, finally, the day came. Ethan's birthday dinner at a small family-owned steakhouse. My parents beaming with pride, my brother laughing, unaware of the luxury hidden in my bag. I handed him the box. He froze, then opened it. His eyes went wide. I've never seen someone cry from joy before, but there he was, tears streaming down his face. "Julia, you didn't have to. This is insane." "You earned it, Ethan, every bit," I whispered, fighting back my own tears. The room filled with warmth. My mother dabbed her eyes. My father looked proud. Ethan hugged me so tightly I thought my ribs might crack. He took 100 photos for Instagram, tagging me with "best sister in the world." And in that moment, I forgot all about Charles. Almost. Because I knew the moment he saw it on Instagram, everything would change. And I was right. Ethan couldn't stop staring at the watch, his fingers tracing every detail as if afraid it would vanish. My parents were glowing. My mom whispered to my dad, "I can't believe she did this." My dad just nodded, pride written all over his face. For a moment, the world felt right. Family, love, celebration. I laughed when Ethan hugged me again, burying his face into my shoulder. "Best sister ever," he whispered. "Seriously, you didn't have to." "I wanted to," I cut him off gently, and I meant it. The evening continued, soft clinking of glasses, laughter, and stories shared around the table. I barely noticed the messages flooding my phone until I did. My chest tightened as I saw the notifications. Charles, one after another. "Why is Ethan posting with that watch? Call me now. Did you buy my watch for him instead?" My stomach sank. I knew this would happen. I knew it the moment I decided to buy Ethan's gift, but seeing it in black and white, punctuated by exclamation marks and unanswered calls, made it real. I considered ignoring it. I wanted to ignore it, but curiosity and a flicker of dread made me answer. "Julia, you gave him my watch. That wasn't yours to give. I told you exactly what I wanted." Charles's voice was sharp, angry, almost trembling with disbelief. I took a deep breath. "Charles, I never said I was buying you that watch. You said, 'Good point.' You expected me to buy it, but I chose to buy it for someone who actually deserved it." A long pause on the other end. I could hear him breathing heavily. Are you breaking up with me over a watch?" I swallowed, carefully choosing my words. "No. But maybe think about why you demanded a luxury gift over appreciating the relationship we have. There's a difference between love and entitlement, Charles." "Entitlement?" he snapped. "You humiliated me. I told my friends you were buying me that watch, and now they're laughing at me." I could feel my pulse racing, but I stayed calm. "I didn't agree to buy you anything. You said 'good point.' That's literally what you said. I did handle it, just not for you. And honestly, seeing Ethan's reaction was worth more than any luxury item." There was a crackle of silence over the line, like the calm before a storm. You think I'm materialistic?" "Charles, look at your own texts. Look at your expectations. You demanded a gift more expensive than you've ever earned in a month. That's not materialism, that's entitlement, and it's clear to me now." His voice went higher, more frantic. "You're lying. You tricked me. You embarrassed me in front of everyone." I pinched the bridge of my nose. Security would be arriving soon if this escalated further. "I didn't embarrass you. You exposed yourself, and this is exactly why boundaries exist." He hung up before I could respond, leaving my phone buzzing with dozens of missed calls and texts. I blocked the number temporarily, needing space. I sat back, exhaling slowly, trying to steady my shaking hands. Even in that moment of anxiety, I couldn't erase Ethan's face from my mind. That raw joy, that pride, the warmth of family, it was worth it. Charles would have to deal with his own immaturity. I couldn't be responsible for someone else's tantrum. But the backlash didn't stop there. The next morning, Charles escalated. Texts turned into calls turned into emails. Within 48 hours, he had shown up at my office twice, claiming, "We need to talk." My manager raised an eyebrow at the second visit. I had to explain calmly that I was handling a personal matter, something I knew would only escalate if I didn't document it. At home, the tension thickened. My phone continued to light up with unknown numbers, voicemails, and messages. I started keeping a log. Dates, times, what happened, screenshots of text, and recordings of voicemails. Every entry was a reminder that what started as a seemingly small disagreement had transformed into a full-blown confrontation. Through it all, I held on to Ethan's gift. I would catch glimpses of him wearing the watch in his apartment, proudly showing it off on Zoom calls. Each photo he sent me was a quiet affirmation. I did the right thing. And even though Charles's wrath loomed, I couldn't let it erase the joy I had created for someone who deserved it. By the time Charles's calls slowed, I had realized something critical. This wasn't about a watch. It never had been. It was about control, ego, and the inability to see love as more than a transaction. And now, thanks to one simple choice, I had discovered a truth I couldn't unsee. Some people will show you who they are when they don't get their way. I also realized that standing up for yourself, even when it meant conflict, isn't cruelty. It's survival. And sometimes the person you love most isn't the one you're dating. Sometimes it's the little brother who has supported you when no one else did. I knew the storm wasn't over. But for that one evening, surrounded by laughter, tears, and family, I felt grounded. And as Charles's rage brewed silently in the background, I understood. The real test wasn't the backlash itself, it was how I would weather it. The storm was coming, yes, but I had already decided who I was protecting, and whose happiness truly mattered. I should have known it wouldn't end with a few angry texts. By midweek, Charles's behavior had crossed every line I thought was imaginable. My phone constantly buzzed, calls, texts, voicemails, and then he started showing up. At my office, at my apartment. It was no longer about the watch. It was about control, humiliation, and proving he could dominate the narrative. I remember the first morning he appeared outside my building. My neighbor waved at him from across the street, clearly annoyed. I didn't answer the door. I watched him pacing, phone glued to his ear, muttering to himself. Panic and fury combined in my chest, but I forced myself to stay calm. I had to document everything. Every step, every word, every intrusion. The voicemails were relentless. You tricked me, Julia. I told my friends you were getting me that watch, and now they're laughing at me. Call me immediately. How could you humiliate me like this? I expected more from you. Even after blocking his number, he found ways to contact me from unknown numbers, emails, and occasionally through mutual friends who tried to mediate, usually unsuccessfully. The stress started to bleed into my work life. My manager noticed me pacing, phone in hand, clearly distracted. I had to explain, carefully, that this was a personal matter, documenting everything in case HR ever needed proof. And then came Samantha, his ex-girlfriend. She wasn't subtle either. At first she called, her voice dripping with faux calmness, pretending she wanted closure. But soon enough, she appeared at my door, at my office, even leaving handwritten notes slipped under the door. 3 pages, meticulously outlining every grievance, every perceived slight, every imagined slight against her. She demanded explanations, apologies, even compensation for her emotional distress over a luxury gift she never received. I read the note twice, incredulous. Did she really expect me to pay for someone else's tantrum? She listed all the ways she claimed to have supported Charles over the years. Every dinner, every small gift, every ride to the airport. Then the kicker. She wanted $10,000 in cash to consider the matter settled. My hands shook as I held the pages, my mind racing. This wasn't just about entitlement anymore. This was harassment, a full-blown invasion of my life. And yet, there was clarity in it too. It was obvious now. They weren't seeing me as a person, as Julia Foster, but as a proxy for their own ego. And I refused to participate. I called a lawyer friend, explained the situation. Cease and desist? I asked. Yes, she said firmly. Make it official. Document everything. No contact. You're not overreacting. So I did. Letters went out via certified mail. Screenshots, logs, emails, all documented in case the harassment escalated. The moment the letters were received, Charles called again, furious, his father even leaving a voicemail condemning my treatment of his son. Samantha's friends started commenting on my social media, trying to vilify me. But the logs, screenshots, and meticulous documentation became my shield. Meanwhile, Ethan's joy remained untouched. He wore the watch with pride, sent photos with captions like, "Still can't believe this is mine. Thanks, Julia." That tiny reminder kept me grounded. It was proof that I hadn't done anything wrong, that someone's happiness, someone deserving, mattered more than Charles's tantrums or Samantha's demands. Even when the stress reached a fever pitch, with legal consultations and threats looming, I kept returning to that moment at the steakhouse, to Ethan's face, to my parents' pride. I realized something crucial. This wasn't just a battle over a luxury item. It was a test of boundaries, resilience, and self-respect, and I was determined not to lose. Every intrusion, every angry call, every threatening message was a reminder that entitlement can become obsession. But it also reminded me why boundaries exist, why we protect ourselves, and why sometimes the right choice isn't the easy one. By the end of the week, Charles and Samantha's harassment had slowed, thanks in part to the legal letters, and partly because their theatrics had been documented and challenged. But the emotional weight lingered. I spent nights replaying every interaction, wondering if I could have done anything differently. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had acted with integrity. I had protected myself and those I loved. And Ethan, he didn't care about the chaos. He just smiled, showing off his watch, utterly thrilled with the gift. That small moment of pure joy became my anchor in the storm. And through it all, one truth crystallized. Some people reveal who they really are in a crisis. Charles and Samantha had revealed theirs, and now, with careful documentation and legal protection, I could move forward safely. I also realized that sometimes standing up for yourself and for what's right means weathering a storm that feels unbearable, but it also means you walk away stronger, clearer, and more certain of who deserves your love and trust. The storm wasn't over, not yet, but I had survived its first wave, and I knew, with every fiber of my being, that I would face whatever came next with the same resolve. The legal letters worked, finally. For the first time in weeks, my phone was silent. No more angry calls, no more threatening texts, no unexpected appearances at my apartment or office. The storm had passed, leaving behind a strange mix of relief, exhaustion, and clarity. Samantha never contacted me again after the cease and desist. Her friends stopped commenting on my social media. Charles went quiet too, though I later learned he had spent weeks trying to explain to his circle that he had been wronged. Somehow I didn't care. Their narratives no longer had power over me. Ethan called the day after the last letter arrived, excitement bubbling through the phone. "Julia, I still can't believe it. Every time I look at this watch, I feel like I'm cheating life a little bit. Thank you." I laughed. A real, free laugh I hadn't felt in weeks. "You deserve it, Ethan. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise." Seeing him so genuinely happy made all the stress, all the anxiety, and all the threats fade into perspective. The gift was more than a luxury watch. It was a symbol that I could do something meaningful for someone I cared about without bowing to unreasonable demands from anyone else. Work eventually returned to normal, though my manager did call me into his office to ask about the harassment. I showed him the logs, screenshots, and voicemails. His expression shifted from concern to admiration. "You handled this perfectly," he said. "Documentation, calm responses, legal support. You didn't let it spiral." It was true. I didn't let it spiral. Not completely. I had boundaries, I had family support, and I had proof. And for the first time in weeks, I realized something critical. I didn't need anyone's validation to feel justified. Not Charles, not Samantha, not their friends or family. Reflecting on it now, I see that the watch for brother decision was more than just a gift. It was a turning point. A quiet rebellion against entitlement, manipulation, and the unspoken rules of someone else's ego. That simple act of generosity became my anchor. It reminded me who mattered and who didn't. People often ask me if I regretted buying Ethan the watch instead of giving in to Charles's demands. The answer is simple: no. Ethan deserved that happiness more than Charles deserved my compliance, and I'd rather face a storm of texts, calls, and threats than betray my own values. I also realized that in relationships, some people reveal who they truly are when things don't go their way. Charles and Samantha revealed theirs in vivid color: entitlement, obsession, and an inability to respect boundaries. That knowledge hurt at first, but it also protected me, because now I know what I will never tolerate again. Over time, I rebuilt my sense of safety and perspective. I focused on my career, my therapy, and my family. I reconnected with friends I had ignored during the chaos. I even laughed at the absurdity of it all. The length some people will go over a luxury item, the delusions of entitlement, the social media theatrics. Ethan still wears that watch proudly. Sometimes he sends photos, captions like, "Still can't believe this is mine, makes me feel unstoppable." And I can't help but smile. That small gesture, an act of love, respect, and fairness, created ripples of joy far beyond a single moment. As for Charles and Samantha, they're someone else's problem now. I don't need to untangle their drama anymore. I've learned the hard way that sometimes the right thing isn't the easy thing, and sometimes people will expose their true selves, whether you like it or not. And me? I'm healing, stronger, wiser, protective of my boundaries, my family, and my peace. I'm not dating anyone yet. I'm taking my time, rebuilding trust in my judgment, and savoring the fact that I stood my ground when it mattered most. The Watch for Brother incident, once a small idea in my mind, became a defining moment. It reminded me that love isn't about gifts, it's about intention, and that sometimes the most meaningful actions come when you defy expectations and stay true to yourself. I've also realized that life has a strange way of teaching lessons. Some people show their true colors when confronted with disappointment. Some betray, manipulate, or lash out. And some, like my family, my brother, and even myself, show resilience, love, and integrity. The storm has passed, but the lesson remains. Choose carefully who you give your time, energy, and heart to. Protect the people you love, stand up for yourself, and never ever let entitlement dictate your actions. Ethan still calls me his best sister in the world, and I will never forget that night at the steakhouse. The warmth, the joy, the quiet power of doing what's right, even when it's terrifying. That night, I learned something invaluable. In a world full of demands and drama, choosing love over compliance can change everything.